Alright, so in this video I wanted to make a case for partial reps. Now, I used to be of the school of, if you don't go through a full range of motion, then you're not doing it right. And now depending on whatever the situation is, I do still kind of believe that, but I hold a little bit less strongly to that, especially now after hearing Ronnie Coleman in his interview with Shawn. Now, I've been following Ronnie Coleman for a long time. If you don't know who Ronnie Coleman is, look him up. He's like one of the world's most famous bodybuilders. He won a Mr. Olympia 8 times, matching Lee Haney's record, and of course also beating Arnold Schwarzenegger's record. And so he's one of the best to ever do it. And if you follow Ronnie Coleman, first of all, he's huge, very massive, or he was. And you know, he was known for, you know, his proportions and just like his genetics or whatever, just like an impressive bodybuilding physique. But if you watch him work out, you'll see that his reps were like not full range of motion. Like, he wasn't going through a full range of motion at all. Like, doing bench press, it seemed like he was only like working within like maybe like a 3 to 6 inch range of motion. Now, lifting tons of weight, but going through a very narrow range of motion. And it's something that I always in the back of my mind was like, I wonder why he does that. Like, how does that work? You know, because you can say that you lift a lot of weight, but if you're not moving it through as much of a range of motion, obviously he's extremely strong, especially like with his famous 800-pound squat. Like, he did that through a full range of motion. But anyway, Shannon Sharpe asked him on his podcast about his rep range, and specifically he said he does that to just keep the focus on the muscle, to build the muscle. And then it made sense to me. So if you really think about this, when you're working the muscle, like for example, you just saw me doing these rows. When you're working the muscle, so technically I start here with my arms fully extended, okay? And then you pull up, that's the top of the repetition right there. However, when you're at both of those extremes, like this top part here, this bottom part and this top part here, those, especially the bottom, are like moments where there's less, where the resistance is being shared a little bit more with your joints. Okay, so think about this here. When I'm like this, there's tension on my muscles, like on my forearms, my biceps to a degree, maybe a little bit of my back, and other supporting muscles, of course the muscles of my hands and whatnot. But at the same time though, because I have my arm fully extended, some of that is being born with like my hands and my shoulder joints and stuff like that, okay? Then when I start to pull up, that's when the muscles really start to engage, and then I even have some level of contraction there. And so my point is, especially once I get out of that bottom part, that's when the tension is really starting to get on your muscle. And according to Ronnie Coleman's philosophy, he puts the emphasis on that range of the repetition where there's most resistance on the muscle, because again, the goal of a bodybuilder is hypertrophy, is muscle growth. And so then it made sense to me. Okay, so going through a full range of motion, you're gonna waste some of that energy, so to speak, on parts of the range of motion where your muscles are being the least engaged. Okay, so that kind of made sense to me. So I start feeling bad, like if I don't go all the way down, you know, with my move, or even all the way up for that matter. Let me get some push-ups real quick. Man, it burns. All right. So yeah. So anyway, like I was saying, you have less muscle activation, especially at like the top and or the bottom of your move. And so that's why bodybuilders like Ronnie Coleman, you know, will do those narrow ranges of motion. Now, I think if you're trying to really build strength, then, you know, going through a full range of motion is important, you know, because you want to try to incorporate, you know, as many fibers as you can. When you're building strength, you're not really incorporating, you're not fatiguing as many muscle fibers as possible. You're just trying to get maximal contraction of the muscle and whatnot. But lifting or exercising for hypertrophy is just a whole different kind of thing. Now that makes sense to me. Another thing to think about is, for people like me who have long limbs, your range of motion is going to be way more than somebody who is shorter. So I'm 6'2", and I have to go through a long range of motion. This is another reason why I believe, especially with me, even though I have built muscle, then, you know, stretching across these long limbs, you know, it may not be as noticeable as quickly. But I'm all good with that. I'm happy with the body God gave me. But there's a lot more range of motion for people like me too, who have long wingspan and stuff like that. But then also another thing for me, I think being a longer limb person, another reason why I may not necessarily always go to the extreme parts of the movement, like the very bottom of a push-up, or the very top sometimes of some sort of move, is because of the potential for a joint pain. So like for me, for some people, when you do a bench press or a push-up like what you just saw me doing, when you get down to here where your arm is essentially parallel with your torso, you're essentially chest to ground. Or if you're doing bench press, it's chest to bar. However, me, or people with long limbs like me, I still have, you know, about 4 or 5 more inches to get to my chest, which means that my elbow travels past my torso, and that can be a vulnerable position for your shoulder. Whenever your elbow kind of starts to travel past your torso, it's pretty vulnerable there. And even now, the reason why I'm doing push-ups off the stairs is because of a little bit of shoulder issue that I think was recently caused by me going into that bottom position a bit, and maybe I kind of shifted unknowingly, and it kind of caused like some slight pain there. So I kind of been working that out, and thankfully now it's kind of gotten better. I had to get back on the 3rd stair, then I went to the 2nd stair, now I'm on the 1st. So thankfully that joint pain is, you know, kind of going away now. But anyway, that's another reason why I may not necessarily go to the extremes of the movements all the time, because sometimes it kind of causes issues for people like me who are longer limbed or whatnot. So anyway, I'm just saying that to say, if your goal is to build muscle, then it's probably not a bad idea. Perhaps I even venture to say it's a good idea to do a more narrow range of motion. Now, if you are doing maxing out and stuff like that, which I don't do a lot of that stuff, well, I don't do any of that stuff these days. But if you're maxing out and you catch yourself, you know, maybe saying that you bench 400 pounds and you didn't let that, you came and you didn't let that thing, you didn't come down by like 2 inches and went up 2 and said you bench 400, no. That's not really a max. That's not your max. You need to drop your weight so you can see what you can go through with a full range of motion. But then if you're doing working sets and trying to build muscle, then maybe you go through a more narrow range of motion. Let me know what you think about this. And I'll see y'all next video. Make sure you subscribe too if you haven't already. As we get older, it becomes increasingly important to maintain and build muscle. Muscle helps you burn fat, stay mobile, and can contribute to longevity. However, many people have no idea how to work out to build muscle. My mini workout series on Patreon provides you with my body weight mini workout video library. These workouts use little to no equipment, which means that you can do them in the privacy of your own home. They start at beginner level and progress from there to ensure you continue to see results. Every workout is a full body workout, hitting chest, back, legs, and glutes, as well as other muscles in between. Become a patron today and receive access to my series of mini workouts, plus access to a digital copy of my book, 8 Weeks to Transform Your Diet and Your Health. By combining the workouts with healthy diet changes, as outlined in my book, you'll definitely be on your way to weight loss, improved health, and visible results. Join me at patreon.com/SeanB2B Fitness today.